We're live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're live. And I'm back from New York, and I am alive. I've had quite a couple days here, my friends. I love jazzing you up in the morning. I love having this time with you. And I've got a topic for you this morning. I know it's Monday. No, I said Monday because it's the first time I played this music, but today is Thursday, man. Today is Thursday. I think we did a thing like Pop Off Thursday a while ago. But man, today is not Pop Off Thursday. Today is just a Thursday. And it's the title of the show today is What's My Job, right? And I talked to you guys about a lot of things. And this one kind of hit me this week a little differently, right? Because I was traveling all over. I saw a lot of cool things. I saw this guy as one of them in New York City. I was traveling all over New York City. I had meetings with business people. And I got to thinking, what is my job, man? What is your job? What is this whole idea of a job? Like, I know we go through the day and we do work. But what do we do for a job? How do we look at ourselves as a job? I kind of want to break that down today, and I want to make it clear today what your job is today and what your job should be evermore. I think I am lacking in a job in some ways sometimes. I told myself as I was building all my companies that I wanted to build them so I didn't have a job. I wanted to build them so I wouldn't have to do things over and over and over again, repetitiously on demand, because I had to, right? I looked at a job in that regards, and I'm not straying from that from an entrepreneurial mindset. We're going to talk to you as entrepreneurs this morning. We're going to talk to you about what is the job of an entrepreneur. I mean, we're called to build and create and move organizations through time, right? To lift people up, I think to create significance. I think there's some ambiguity to a job and what your job really is and how I would like for you to look at your job. So what's my job anyways, right? I'm going to tell you what my job is. I'm going to tell you what your job is. I'm going to tell you how important it is to have a job. And I was just kind of thinking about it. And as I was traveling to New York this week, it was an amazing trip. I've sent pictures out. I've showed some people. I got some things done on my job this week. I asked myself, what is my job in New York City? That's me perplexing the world's troubles. Actually, it's not. My job at that moment was to look like I was perplexing the world's trouble, because at that moment I'd got a phone call from Chad and says, get me some pictures from New York. So as though you think that my job is to be thinking and grinding, which I was in so many different times when I was in that restaurant. Met an amazing group of people there and made friends. It was awesome. But my job really was to get some pictures, right? My job was also to kind of walk around that day and get some videos and to build my brand. My job was to drink coffee that day for an image. My job was to go and hang out with some people. And this guy here, his job was to cook and clean for a nearby restaurant. And he came up from the ground to take a break. So his job was to cook and clean. But at that moment, his job was to come and take a break. And actually, he took a picture with me. So I got in the ground, and that was my job, right? Another job I had was basically the primary job was for me to go to New York and meet this man. You see, this man was my first customer in many, many ways, some 25 years ago. And my company has grown and grown and grown, and his company has grown in the ways he wanted it to grow. But my job is to provide care for him in his payroll and HR services. And we had outgrown the model that he needed, and I had to fly out there and share with him that I was not the best choice for him any longer. And I grinded over that, and I just couldn't do it over the phone. I had to do that with approximately 20 clients. Only two of them which I felt compelled that I need to see in person and personally tell them what was going on and why and how we could better their worlds by actually not using our services anymore. That was my job. But the significance of my job was actually thought to be a little different when I was flying over there, right? So my job at that point, so I have lots of jobs, and I want you to start looking at a job as a singular focus on one thing. A job is a singular focus to do one thing. And so when I lay out all these things I'm talking to you about right now, my job was to meet the man coming out of the ground and take a picture. My job was to have a Photoshop, or I didn't Photoshop it, but a photo of me in the coffee shop there. My job was to actually create a studio in Angola, Indiana called the Wired Differently Studio. I was called to do that. My job was to complete that. My job was to actually go live in it finally, like we did all last week. My job was to pass that on for others to use so that that is working without me even being there. That is my job. But I want you to understand where I understand the intricacies of having a job and the intricacies of you having a job, the intricacies of doing a lifelong job, the intricacy of things coming out for the better of you and others is the reason we go to work and have a job. Now, working is toiling, but a job is to cultivate and maintain. God said this in Genesis 2:8. Your job is to be made in his image so that you can cultivate and maintain. God's original job for us is to cultivate and maintain us. He gave us in his image to cultivate and maintain a little garden called Eden. I digress. But as I was flying over to New York City to tell my friend that he's no longer going to be part of our group, but I had found even a better place for him to go. Ultimately, we rejoiced, and I had a job to do on the plane. And so often I do these shows, and what I think I'm going to say, something else comes out because I've just overcome with thoughts, and my mind is moving in so many different directions. And my job is to give you what's on my mind from these learnings and these actions and what I think God has put in my mind, in my head. But my job was like interesting because I want you to know my job is not only to maintain and cultivate relationships on this earth like God has done for us in his own image. Humanity is to have dominion of this world. He created us man. He created us woman. He created us to cultivate and maintain. In Genesis 2, chapter 8, it says these things. But it's as simple as a cup of coffee. It's just as simple as a cup of coffee. I mean, a job. I want you to think about J-O-B. We're going to break it down. We're going to get out of here. We're going to kick some tail, right? Let it rip, potato chip. It's on like Donkey Kong. We got this thing called life. We're wired differently because my job is to love you. My job is to inspire you. My job is to maintain you. My job is those things. Jobs are so many, but on the plane, I'm flying over and I'm buckled up, and all of a sudden I hear over the loudspeaker, buckle up, air turbulence ahead. And I'm flying and I got my cup of coffee here. I buckle up and I'm acting like no thing's going on. No better wise mind me. It's just the flight going on. I know I'm going to land. I know God's got his hand. We're going to land. We're going to do all these things. I'm doing the things and people are a little concerned, and we hit a turbulence. We bump around. We hit another turbulence. We bump. And I realize that my coffee is sitting on my armrest. And the turbulence are catching up. And I look over and the last bump goes up. The coffee goes straight up in the air and comes straight back down right in the cup. Not a spill, not a splatter. But I realize that the turbulence are starting to go side to side and not just up and down. So what do? What is my job at that moment? What am I doing to think fast? What am I going to do to save the pilot? What am I going to do to save the ship? What am I going to do to stop the turbulence? Nothing. The only thing I could do was pick up my cup and hold it in the air like this. And so as those turbulence hit, I bounced up, I bounced down, I bounced sideways, I bounced sideways. up, down, sideways, around, and my coffee was going everywhere. But guess what? When I picked up that cup of coffee, the simple cup of coffee, the only job I had in the world that I could actually do, want to do, could do, I had to do something was to hold this cup in the air and keep the coffee from going right and left and up and down. I mean, you see, because the plane was going everywhere, my body was going everywhere, but my arm acted as a shock absorber, not allowing the coffee to go anywhere in the plane. It was miraculous. I only had one job. And it was the rodeo, right? It was the rodeo, this cup of coffee. I was not. I was singularly focused on this cup of coffee. I was the shock absorber. I was the impact absorber. I was the creator of this job. I was doing this job. I'm cultivating and maintaining this cup of Java. It's not going to spill on the beautiful person next to me. It's not going to spill on the aisle. It's not going to spill on my suit. My only job, the only job I could do at that very moment was to be the rodeo cowboy riding that bull, hanging on and shock absorbing, moving and riding. And I must have rode that cup of coffee for 8 seconds. Now, talk to me, somebody. I saved my coffee. I saved the lady next to me. I saved my suit. I did my job. The next job I had, because I was sitting in seat 1A, right? Seat 1A in an airplane is the seat of a most important job. You see, seat 1A is the pivotal seat. Seat 1A is the seat that puts you in charge of all of the flow. When that airplane comes up to dock at the board there, and you're going to put the landing or the boardwalk or the plank over to get into the terminal, right? The airline stewardess says, you now may get up. The beeper goes off. Everybody stands up. And 1A has one job, to be singular focused. Early on, my only singular focus was to save my coffee from splattering on everybody else and me. But now my job changed on that flight. I'm in 1A. Listen, my friends, we must have a job, right? Job, J-O-B. Job stands for we must have a job. We must realize what our job is. At one hand, it was just keeping the coffee off my person and riding it like a damn bull for 8 seconds. That was the only job I could do. It was the only job I had. I was singularly focused on it, and I was so good at it. I was so good at it that I didn't even think about the turbulence of the fact that we might just crash. I was so good at it that I was marveling in my own ability to actually control a cup of coffee. I was thinking, man, if this was an Olympic event, I could get the gold medal. If this was a professional sport, I would be all world, all conference, all champion. This would be the Super Bowl crown I would have of the rodeo coffee riding championship of the world. I was good at that, man. I was so good at riding that coffee. And I saved you. Aren't you happy? I was singularly focused on my job to save you. I love you, cup of coffee, Java. But no, not now. My job is done with coffee. The lady come and took my coffee. I'm done with that job, and now my job is in seat 1A. I have a job now. The job isn't to save coffee, save my suit, save the person next to me. My job is to get up first, 1A. I am 1A. I know my job. I got to have my laptop put away. I got to have my seat put away. I got to have everything around me. I got to have my headsets put away. I've got to be ready. So when that dinger goes off at that seat for 1A, when we bum up the board, we're going to get off that plane because I know I control the flow of 300 and plus people behind me that want to get off that plane. And if I don't get up on time, if I don't get in that aisle on time, if I don't have my bags off the overhead, if I'm not unplugged from my movie I was watching, or I'm not putting my seat thing together, my seatbelt off. I mean, there's been times where I've got up to go and the seatbelt's still on. Oh man, I about hurt myself. Like I put my own self in a lap band, right? So you gotta know your job at every moment. You got a damn job. You gotta know your job. You gotta do your job. It's Thursday morning. What's your job today? My job right then. I know I'm over over the top, but that's just kind of what I do. I just go over the top because if I can get you to realize how important it is to ride a cup of coffee for 8 seconds, I can get you to realize how important it is to ride and do your seat and get out of 1A first. You can't confuse the whole plane because if 1A doesn't get up, get out and get in that aisle first. Everybody else is waiting behind. They can't get off the plane. Singularly focused. I'm singularly focused on getting out of 1A, undoing my seatbelt, putting the coffee away, putting my food away, putting the movie away, putting my laptop away. And if my wife is traveling with me, I don't have any problem knowing my job. Check down Tracy's right there. Is your coffee away? Is your like I've never flown like well over 1 million miles, right? But I digress. Check down Tracy's all about it, man. I just want you to know, honey, I love you. And when I fly alone, I check down all by myself. I got this. Thank you, babe. But 1A is super important. I get out. I do the check down. Thank you, Tracy. I do the check down. I get up and I'm in that lane first. I'm up front and center and I'm talking to the steward person, the guard of the plane. I'm talking to the pilot. He peeks his head out to say hi. I tell him, good job. I motivate that pilot. I motivate those airline workers. I motivate everybody around me. I'm telling them, great job. You didn't spill your coffee. I'm telling them, great job. You look nice. I'm telling them, great job. Get out there. Kick some tail. Right? Make some people happy. Cultivate and maintain this world. That's your job. I am cultivating and maintaining all the while knowing that my job in 1A is to get out in front and lead. Because if I don't lead, they can't get off the plane in time. I'll slow the whole process up. And if while I'm leading, I don't set the tone to get off that plane, to cultivate and maintain my mind, people's minds, everybody around me, then maybe that person in seat 300 is not going to get the message, right? It's my job. We must have a job. I know I go on. I know that people are watching me and saying, man, guys, great. What is he trying to do? But I guarantee you understand what I'm saying. My goal was to build Wired differently as my last large company is to build this as my last large company. I know my job. But I've not done it the way I needed to do it like I've done all my others, and I'm finally starting to do that. It's taken me some time to work my way in there, but I want you to know that my job is to build you personally. My job is to build you spiritually, and my job is to build you profitably. And God gave us a job in Genesis 2:8, and that job was to cultivate and maintain the Garden of Eden, i.e. this world. And he did it by putting us in his own image to do those things, right? Original jobs. We must have it since the beginning of time. We've had jobs, and Todd went out to say, I don't want a job anymore. I never say the R word, but I don't want a job. I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to know how. I don't want the responsibility. But listen to me, man. Listen, Todd learned this lesson real hard on a plane with a cup of Java, trying to ride it out for 8 seconds, right? Like the rodeo bull rider that I am. I learned that I can never be void of a job because I was called to share the gospel. I was called to cultivate and maintain the Garden of Eden, i.e. this world, right? I was called to ride this bull coffee for 8 seconds. I was called to get out of seat 1A first. Keep the pace. Motivate the troops. Tell them how important they are. Barnabas of the plane, the encourager. That's Todd Saylor. That's my job. What's your job? J is for job. You must have a job. You can't never not have a job. Man. I can't wait to watch this replay. I can't wait to watch this replay. Hello, Christina Wilson. Man, oh man, I was a greeter. What'd she have to say? Christine said, you were the greener. Claire, how are you, Claire? We're going to move through these. Good morning. Jason Ball, I love you. I know I carry on. Oh no, Abigail, how are you? Am I going to get yelled at by Chad because I'm going to go? I'm not going to go long. It's Christina again. I love it. Post surgery, I can surge. That's right. Who else do we got here? Good to see you, Luther. Everybody's doing good. Everybody's doing good here. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's go here. Thank you, everybody. I got a job. You got a job. Some are simple. Some are complicated. Some are exhausting. And some are just basically larger than we can handle. We must all have jobs. We must know our jobs. We must understand that our job is very, very important. And the idea I wanted to share with you this morning is that our job is to know that we have a job. Our job isn't to hate our work. Our job is to recognize that in all situations we have a job. And that in the overriding thing of our job is that we are to cultivate and maintain people in this earth, in this world, the dominion of this world that God gave us, right? So our job is to cultivate and maintain. And I want to take that forward to you in your entrepreneurial mindset. Because you're wired differently. You do things differently. You do life differently. You get up differently. You go on the Facebook and you ride a coffee of Java for 8 seconds in the turbulence of an airplane, making a game out of the fact that you just might die. But the only thing that's important to you is not to spill a cup of coffee while you ride it 8 seconds like that bull that can't ever be broke. Just to win that wrestle. How can you boil down life to riding a cup of coffee for 8 seconds? I have no idea how I can do it, but I just did it. I want you to ride that coffee like a bull for 8 seconds. I want you to have singular focus in your job at the moment, because the mind can only think of one thing at a time and be really, really great at it. I want you to have one single source energy. I want you to put all your spidey powers, all your superpowers into one thing today. Don't scatter it all over today. I can teach you how to do that, but I couldn't do it until I learned how to ride a coffee of rodeo Java on a plane, singularly focused. I was the best in the world, probably the only one in the world at that time, riding this coffee out like it was the rodeo bull that I needed to capture to win that rodeo championship. That's how I looked at it. I didn't care about life or death. I didn't care. I didn't even think about my family. I didn't think about my jobs. I didn't think about my world, but I only thought about the one job I had, and I was so damn good at it. You should have seen me riding that coffee. So good. I mean, I moved so well. I did it. I boiled down your job into 1 8-second coffee or rodeo bull ride. I did the show, man. On the singular focus to do the show. I'm thinking about any of my other challenges or any other portions of my job right now. I'm only thinking about how I'm going to get this across to you that your job unilaterally is to cultivate and maintain this world that we've been given in God's image. More importantly, know that you have a job, a singular job to get it done, whether it's riding a coffee bull or getting out in 1E. You got this thing called life today. One job, one way. You got this. I love you. And remember to be, do, and think differently. Get to toddsaylor.com. I love you guys. Get on that coffee bowl today.